Good morning, everyone. We're still in Les Arbres-de-Lone. It's the 18th of October. The time's flying by, and thanks for all my regular watchers here. There seems to be about 70 people every morning that come up and follow this, and then the other groups come during the day. So that's all cool. Anyway, so all the action at the moment's at the front end of the fleet here. The tail enders and middle fleet are just coming down the trades. So, and there's some interesting things going on. You can see Tapio at the moment and Pat are doing okay. They're managing to make easting because there's something going on with the weather here, which I'll explain in a minute. Because completely different for Simon. Simon's got a southeasterly wind, so he's hard on the breeze, but Tapio's able to get over here because there's the slightest bit of northerly in this. It's not an easterly. It looks like you can see it's rolling up and over like this. So it's coming up and hooking around, so they can make a much better course. So I haven't even looked at this yet, but if we look at the leaderboard, no, it's still showing Simon is in the lead, but I would have thought Tapio might even be closer now, but not quite. On the angle, but he's in terms of 1640. By that, he's showing 49 miles behind Simon in relation to the distance to Cape Town. But it doesn't really matter because it's all about weather at the moment, and so it goes down the line. All, lots of interesting information there that you can look at. But I thought Tapio might have been showing in the lead there. But as I say, the leaderboard at the moment is not really relevant because it'll be determined on the weather and who can turn first. So Abelish has got an easterly, little bit of south in it, so he's making 6.3 knots, doing pretty well. Not sure what's going on with Kirsten here. She's paid off a bit, doing 5 knots still, and maybe that looks like a 4-hourly thing. I'm not sure. Maybe it's during the night, something happened, shifted down. She could have different weather in this lot, but it looks like she's got a northeasterly there, so she wouldn't normally be heading out that way, but it could just be this is not showing the reality of the weather she's got. Anyway, so what's causing this? What's causing this sudden change? Damien, of course, doing well. Just a light easterly breeze is showing a bit of a blip there as well, coming down from a east northeasterly, so he's making 6.5 knots and heading over to the east, like following Tapio and so on. So they'll be happy with that. But here's the reality. What's going on here? If we scoot this back, you can see there's been a bit of a movement. In fact, it's actually some of this weather that's come up here, blocked the next South Atlantic high. This is the next one coming on. This is what's going to form up and come across. And so it's held it up a bit, which means, and in fact, to a degree, pushed it a little bit to the west, which has put them in there's the airflow going around, put them at the top northeastern corner of this system, which is hooking around nicely at the top for Tapio and so on. And if we just follow this, I'll leave it at this scale, and we'll just follow what's going to happen with the weather. If we go forward a day, you can see, okay, this has been pushed out of the way. The high pressure is strengthening. It's taking its own momentum, and kind of interesting. In a day's time, this breeze up the top swings right around, so you can see it's going to be on the nose tomorrow for Tapio. They will absolutely be bearing away and heading south. Okay. And Simon and the others, I'll talk about that in a minute. You'll see they'll be affected. So then on the 20th, so that's 2 days ahead. 2 days ahead, it's obviously forming up, and it's where it was a little bit to the east of where we were forecasting about 5 days ago for this high. But you can see what's happening here. This is all northeasterly and northerly down the back. So within the leaders are only going to have another day or so of headwinds, and then it's going to turn pretty quickly because they'll be further south. It'll start to come down. So in 2 days, you'll see them start to benefit from this. And then if we go forward another day, okay, it's come right across, and you can clearly see on the back edge now the wind. The further south you are, the more northerly in the wind. If you were right down here, you'd be getting a northerly, which is great. You're reaching off to Cape Town. If you're in here, you're getting a northeasterly. The further south you go. If you're up high, you've got an easterly. So that's where, the quicker you can get south, the quicker you get favourable winds and keep going. Then there's a race, because if the high pressure system takes off really quickly, you don't get the benefit of it for a long time. But what's going to happen is, let's see what goes, another day ahead. It's not moving too fast, so you can clearly see the northeasterlies down here. So when you get to these levels, and I'll put the overlay, there's 30 degrees south, so you only need to be just below 30 and you're going to get the benefit. There's plenty of it there. You don't need to go down to the roaring 40s down here that we thought they may have had to do, because it's squashed up a bit. So that's all good news for the whole fleet by then, because by then, yes, Simon and Abelish will be getting a great ride, but also Tapio and Kirsten and Pat will be getting the benefit of a wind shift as well. So they're going to be on their way within 2 days, which is good because we want them to get to Cape Town early. And then if we follow it on again, it's squashing out rather than the back edge moving, which is also good for the fleet. Sometimes this can be right over there at that stage and you don't know what's going to follow it, but it's looking reasonably favourable for the rest of the trip. That's okay, so that's the 23rd. If we just come up, I'll just make this a little bit bigger, and we'll estimate where they'd be the 23rd. So that's 5 days. So it's about 650 miles. So they'll be about 650 miles further on, say about here. So we extend that out. So they'll be, down around here somewhere. And you can still see if you're up here, you've got an easterly. But if you're down here at these levels, you've got a northeasterly. And that's good enough to keep going east. So, the further back here, it's hooking around. So it's going to be an interesting situation now, because Damien, who's at the back, he's going to get the benefit of this. He may not have to go as far south as the others before he hooks up with some northerly in the easterly winds, a northerly quadrant. And so you're going to see him continually gaining over the next 4 or 5 days, I think, because these guys have had to come south further, quicker, like sooner, to get the benefit and then take off. Damien's probably going to be 150 miles above them going east, so he saved nearly a day. So I think you'll see him take a big gain in the next 5 days or so. But anyway, let's go back to here. And so I'll just go back and take the progression right to the end of our forecast period. I've got to get rid of our toggle there. So the 25th, and that high has disappeared and turned into a big ridge. So if we come back there, there's the high. Okay, so that's on the 23rd. And I'll try and take it forward slowly. I can actually... Hang on, if I press the right buttons here. It's clicking forward every 6 hours or so, and you can see it forms up now. As it just squashes out, and this is the new one forming, okay, over here. So that's going to be interesting for the tail enders, because they're going to have that band of low wind. Then it's up here, could be a southerly. That's okay, they'll keep moving, but it gets pretty interesting then, because you'll see down here, they've got in fact, they won't be there that quick. That's the 26th. No, they'll be back here somewhere, and there'll be a fine line, but at least there's northwesterlies here going all the way across. So it looks reasonable. They're not going to get too bogged down. And if I take that right to the end, and then there's a southerly coming up. So, we'll see what happens after that. Anyway, enough of the projections and forecasts. Let's go back to today's weather. Boom. Hit that back to there. That's real time today. Get a bit of a better look here. So we've been through those guys. Damien's doing well. Let's just see if because Simon slowed down a bit. He's definitely slowed down because he's hard on, whereas Damien is thingo. And this is now, as I've been saying, it's not irrelevant other than the race to close the gap. He's 470 miles, so he's gained a bit, but as I say, this is the big deal. If he's coming down here and he can turn that way a day earlier, they're basically racing then for the same mark, and you pick up a day. So he's going to like that, I think. Okay, Michael Goog. We're back into the trade winds now. You can see that very easily. Is a southeasterly trade wind slant. Goog's got an easterly in it, which helps him a bit. So it's not southeasterly here, it's an easterly. He's making 6.3 knots. Loving that for sure. Ayrton's just making the most to get across to the east at the same time, because he's got an easterly as well. The wind's slowly been swinging, so 4.8 knots. Guy still he's got an east-southeasterly doing 5.3, keeping away from the coast. Elliot, happy as, 6.5 knots. He'll be enjoying that for sure. A bit of a drag race between these two, 4.2 for Ian and 5.2 for Arnaud, but you can see they've both, at the moment, they're close enough to be getting similar weather. Arnaud's paying off to go faster, whereas Ian's holding high. He's got his eyes fixed on Trinidadi, no doubt, and just going for it. So that's the happenings for today, and all kind of interesting, all the action.